Hello people, Matt Lemke here with Your Gamer Goggles, gamer-goggles.com, and today we're going to talk about X-Wing Miniatures game. It is the dogfight game system that is set in the Star Wars universe. So, usually two players will sit down and play X-Wing. Yes, you can play bigger games than that, but most of the time it's a head-to-head game. It's a head-to-head battle in the Star Wars universe. Each player develops their own squad, usually of, from what I have seen, I've only been playing for about 3 months, usually 2 to 3 ships. Sometimes a large ship and a small ship, and maybe a large ship and 2 small ships, or 3 pretty balanced ships. But what you need to know is the game can be a little bit brutal if you haven't practiced moving. So I would suggest you practice moving. In fact, you can easily overthink the game. You can walk away from the game table with a headache. You might want to start off by playing no more than 1 game at a time. Now, what's good about this is it's a miniatures game like no other miniatures game. It features great pre-painted figures, which is actually one of the reasons why I got into it, because I have too many models to paint now. And hey, kitty cat. Hi, Nibbles. And I don't know why. I don't know why they didn't do that for Legion. Legion would be flying off the shelves if they pre-painted the Stormtroopers and Skywalker and Vader, but they didn't. So each ship has its own maneuver dial, or I should say each style of ship has its own maneuver dial. Pilots can affect different things differently, have special abilities, and that's so you need to be aware of that during construction. As far as like purchasing the game goes, you start with a starter. You get a good balance. It's a 2-player starter. Now, when you sit down and play a game, usually your games are about 100 points. You can play an escalation league that goes from 60 to 150, which sounds like a lot of fun to me. And then, you play on a starfield. You almost always play the game in outer space. At least I haven't seen any low atmosphere battles yet. I would like to see some special rules for low atmosphere. So when you set up the table, each player takes turns placing terrain, which is either a debris cloud or an asteroid, and then they take turns placing ships in initiative order based off of the lowest pilot skill to the highest pilot skill. And maybe I'll do a game demo and explain that. This is just a real quick overview. So if there's a tie in the squad totals, the player with initiative can choose to place their ship first and then shoot first. So basically, movement and placement works up from lowest skill to highest skill, and then shooting moves back down to lowest skill. There's basically 4 phases of each round. There's the planning phase, activation phase, which is where you assign cool things to the ships. Then there's the combat phase, where when your ships activate, they take turns shooting at each other, right? And the end phase, which basically you clean off everything that wasn't used that doesn't remain on the selected pilot or ship. I'm watching my cat closely because she's ready to jump on the camera. In the planning phase, this is where you pre-plan your movement in secret. You don't reveal the movement of the ship until it's that ship's turn within the round to move. So we go back to that whole initiative thing of lowest skill value all the way up. If 2 players have a ship with the same skill, the initiative player had the choice at the beginning of the game as to whether or not they were going first or not. This is actually one of the most important parts of the game. I cannot tell you how often crashing is a bad thing for you. My kitty cat is going crazy. No, get down. No camera for you. Sorry about that. I'm back. Oh. The dials each have different maneuvers based off of the style of ship. Some ships are more agile than others. Some ships are slower. Some ships are faster. There's white, green, and red maneuvers at this point in time in the game. A green maneuver is a maneuver that the ship and pilot, I should say, are very comfortable performing. Whereas a white maneuver is not. A red maneuver stresses the pilot, and that stays on until he does another green maneuver. My kitty's pathetic. During the activation phase, you give your ship actions or your pilot's actions. And these pilot actions are either, well, the most common ones are evade and focus and target lock. Evade allows you to dodge one shot. A focus die allows you to manipulate dice. A focus token allows you to manipulate dice. While target lock, well, it allows you to manipulate dice in the sense of re-rolling up to all of them on before determining whether you hit or not. Stress ships do not get actions. During the combat phase, pilots take turns shooting, starting with the highest skill value. And initiative intervenes where needed. There's a lot of abilities and pilot skills and upgrades that allow you to do things like manipulate dice, or focus and evade tokens and target lock. And at the end phase, this is when you remove all your stress. This is where you remove appropriate tokens like evade and focus. Target lock and stress tokens stay until something happens to remove them. Now, this is where it gets fun, because now I'm going to talk about why I like and dislike the game. And I'm actually still a little bit torn. So, X-Wing is been a game that I've been playing now for about 3 months, maybe once or twice a week. I have entered into my first casual league. I'm playing the K-Wing with Miranda and two A-Wings. And the A-Wing is Tycho and Jake Farrell. I don't think I've necessarily built the best list. Any advice you guys want to give me, let me know. I seem to do really well against TIE fighters. I don't necessarily think that I made all the best choices, but I did make choices with the stuff that only I owned. I do have the twin laser turret on Miranda. I also have extra munitions, bombardier, seismic charges, and the cloud, the hourglass cloud. Don't remember the name. Whereas the A-Wings, they're just decked out to be inexpensive, fast, super maneuverable. One of them has a debt to pay on them. Not sure I like that on there. The other one has push the limit and wired. I think it's wired. So far, I'm like at a 50-50 win ratio. I'm not doing so well against large ships with this one. Of course, a couple guys are playing World Championship style lists. So I shouldn't do well against those probably with the ships that I chose. I think maybe B-Wings are a better choice. Anyway, enough of that. So, like I said, I've been playing for 3 months, and here's what I like and don't like about it. And we're going to start with number 1, pre-planned movement. If it wasn't for pre-planned movement, I don't think I'd like the game at all. I mean, they could have chose some other option, but the whole pre-planned movement thing, to me, is what grabs the effect or the illusion that we're actually dogfighting like P-51 Mustangs did back in the day, World War II, Korea. Or even, I mean, more recently, you could even say F-14 Tomcats. I think that if I moved, I shot, and then, or I moved, I activated, and then I shot, I do not think the game would be nearly as balanced as it is. Not knowing who will be where is both an advantage and a disadvantage. Because that's when you start getting into outthinking your opponent, giving yourself a headache. It is also when they're more likely to make a mistake. So if you do something that you're pretty sure they're not expecting, you can really capitalize on it. The near simultaneous movement, which I kind of already talked about, gives the game the dogfight feel. But if you don't practice how to move, you're going to get frustrated. It's that simple. And when I say that, I don't mean, practicing like on the table with somebody else. I mean, you've got terrain on the table, and terrain affects your movement. If you fly over an asteroid, you can take damage. You can lose actions. If you fly through a debris cloud, you can get stressed. So there's a lot of factors there. And if you hit your own ships, you lose an action. Come here, kitty. You're getting too close to the camera. I said come here. Back down. Where was I? Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, when I say if you don't practice, because of the way that you use movement templates, right? So if you don't practice flying, you can actually fly into your own ships and cost yourself the ability to give them an action. And there are so many times command actions you give your ships are so important. Squad building. There is a tremendous amount of flexibility, especially when you've bought some ships. I'll try to keep the kitty away from the camera. She's back. And I mean, like, you have different pilots, you have different types of ships, so every time you buy an expansion pack, you will get usually 4 pilots. And those pilots all have the same movement dial, but their abilities are different. They have different piloting skills and things of that nature. So that gives you a tremendous amount of flexibility there. And on top of that, there's different upgrades that come with every different expansion pack. Now, some of those repeat, but they don't, still only, they're rare enough that they don't repeat enough that everybody's going to have them unless they go out and like buy them as singles on eBay. Drawback to that kind of flexibility is that there's an immense amount of metagame, and that makes the game a lot more competitive than it might want to. Than you might want to be. Cat. Brr. Brr. Come here. The game balance. It is really insane. Okay. So I guess it depends on how you play meta. If you don't look at meta and you're just playing with your buddies, the game is going to be extremely balanced. Extremely balanced. And I think for the most part, as long as you don't get hurt by die rolls, you can pretty much play anything and stand a good chance of not getting wiped off the table. Drawback, though, is that well-played games and well-balanced squads can come down to a single die roll. And that is both a good thing and a bad thing. Nobody really ever wants to lose to one die roll. But if the game is balanced enough that it comes down to, if I would have rolled this hit, I would have won, I'm okay with it. Now, if it comes down to, I needed to make this hit to stand a chance, that's a little different. And against some of the lists I'm playing in this casual league, that's pretty much the way it is. If I make this hit, I stand a chance. If I don't make this hit, I don't. That's just because of the way the guys built their list. It's supposed to be a casual league, and they're not playing casual at all. The minis. The X-Wing and the Armada line are both fantastic. I mean, 1, I don't have to put them together. 2, I don't have to paint them. And they're a high enough quality that I would consider them tabletop, even with some of the greatest snobs in the world, or I should say paint snobs, where that's more important than playing the game. And that's not, that's their prerogative. I'm not one of those people that can be like, I need 32 different colors on my model. I don't have that kind of time. And it's not practical for everyone. Now, if I want to take the X-Wing models and dress them up, they're that much farther along. I'm not going to do that because I got other things I want to paint. Anyway. The drawback is, depending on what you want to play, it can add up. So, let's say I buy the starter and then I want to play 12 TIE Fighters. Well, I got to buy like all the different TIE Fighters. No. I'll be right back. Now, one of the things about X-Wing I do like is that it's not collectible. But it almost should be. And it almost is. They've come as close to a collectible miniatures game as they possibly can. You get different things from the different packs. I've already mentioned that. And the last thing about X-Wing that's really good is the fact that Fantasy Flight supports it on the local level. Anytime a game is supported on a local level, it makes it so much better for a community. Those are my thoughts. That's a real quick overview of X-Wing. I hope to do some playthroughs really soon, or some battle reports, maybe some movement tutorials, but there's plenty of those out there. If you haven't watched them, you want to learn how to play, hit Fantasy Flight's website. They have tutorials on just about every expansion pack that comes out. So, with that being said, what do I actually think about X-Wing? I like it, for the most part. I am a little bit torn with the pre-planned movement yet. Not because it's a bad thing, but because I haven't learned how to do it yet. Which means I don't know if I enjoy trying to outbrain my opponent, or maybe it's just that I'm not good enough and I tend to crash into asteroids sometimes. And that's a learning curve. If you don't want a miniatures game with a learning curve, this is not one to play. Oh wait, there's not a lot of miniatures games to play without a learning curve. So if you want to play a miniatures game and you don't want to paint your models, X-Wing is one of the ways to go. HeroClix is another. But there's Armada, which I haven't looked at yet. I really do want to look at Armada. Anyway, guys, hopefully the next wave will be out this week, and I can get it, and I can do some unboxings for you too. Anyway, later. Thanks for watching.